At number 3.
I know it's true.
It's the last song that my dad and Paul and George and Ringo will get to make together.
And the Beatles back in the top 10 for the first time in 27 years. The new song, Now and Then, debuts at number 7. It's billed as the final Beatles song.
At number 2.
It was great being a cowboy. It was great to host the Wild Kingdom television series. It was all part of creating remote area medical.
People are camping out to get free health care.
It's one man's mission to heal a nation. That is the tagline for the upcoming movie called Medicine Man, the Stan Brock story. The documentary chronicles the late actor, host, and philanthropist who went on a mission for much of his life to help resolve the United States' healthcare crisis.
Poppy, for the time that you knew Stan, what can you tell me about what his motivation was? What happened to him to awaken this drive to deliver healthcare to people across America?
We all buy into the mission. We all love what we do. But to give up everything, to have no possessions, it often left us wondering. And that is the beauty of Medicine Man, the Stan Brock story, is that it gets into that. You see a progression of Stan over time. And I think that's one of the great things that Paul did through this, is you get to see this progression and you get to understand perhaps a little bit of Stan's motivation. For myself working alongside him.
We don't know why he does this.
Welcome to America.
And we still have the #1 trending story in uplifting entertainment coming up in just a few moments. Welcome back to Studio 5. We turn now to the new mini-series, All the Light We Cannot See. The series is based on the 2014 Pulitzer Prize-winning novel and features a blind French teenager and a German soldier whose paths collide in occupied France as both try to survive the devastation of World War II.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I begin my broadcast today, I have something to say. In this time of darkness, of invading cities, I try to remember. Light lasts forever. Darkness lasts not even for 1 second. When you turn on the light.
For both of you, where did you first come to this story? We know it's a book, now a series, thanks to the two of you. Where did you first come to this story?
Well, I think one thing that we're both lucky about is we both read this book long before we were thinking about it as a show or a movie.
When I was a child, I was trained to locate radio frequencies. The things that I've seen haunt me.
I just fell in love with it as a suspenseful page turner that also had emotion and a certain poetry to it, and was a very kind of human scaled story in the midst of an epic World War II backdrop.
The voice was my escape. You are going to find her.
Was there a point, I guess, what was it that happened that made you know this was the perfect production for a series? Was there a moment?
Well, I think I knew that when the book first came out, other people tried to turn it into a movie, and they couldn't do it because it was too much story to fit into 90 minutes or 2 hours. And so once we locked into the idea of a limited series of 3, 4, 5 hour long form cinematic storytelling, it felt like, okay, that's the right form for this, because we don't have to shrink the book. We can honor the book, and we can do right by the spirit of these characters, and hopefully make a show that is moving in the way that the book is, but also epic and suspenseful and big in scale.
Germans are close now.
All the people of the world have become evil at the same time.
Not all the people.
I think the availability of screen time is so important, where you're not doing a sketch, you're doing a portrait, you're doing the whole thing. And I think with 4 hours, you can do justice to the sort of the size of the book.
We need to not draw attention to this house. Marie won't be safe. I will find your daughter.
Talk to me a little about casting. Watching it, I felt like these people were born for what we're seeing them do on screen. What was that process like?
I mean, the casting on this one was unusual because you have certain big-time veterans like Hugh Laurie and Mark Ruffalo, and even Lewis Hoffman, who plays Werner. Even though he's in his 20s, he's been acting since his teenage years, and he's a pro and exceptional. But I wanted to cast Marie, who is a character who's blind. I wanted to at least explore casting with authenticity. So I sent out an open casting call on the internet, and I got well over 1,000 auditions. And so I found this little girl named Nell and this young woman named Aria, both of whom had never acted before. And they are blind. And they allowed us to portray this character in a way that is real.
I know this is a work of fiction, but what do you think this says about the reality of what happened in our history?
It reflects on the experiences of people who are the victims of war. So it's not about strategy. It's not about, how the battles were waged. It's about how people who are stuck in those battles fared and how ordinary people became extraordinary people as a consequence. But I think it's not just about history, sadly. It's also about right now. And, as we worked on the film, it became horrifyingly more and more topical. And it just makes you realize that the themes that the book deals with are actually timeless and universal. It's about darkness and light. And the book is full of hope, actually. And I think that's why it's important that we reflected that on screen.
Someone from our generation who thought if you talk reason, then maybe the insanity of this war might come to an end.
I don't know how long I have, but I will remain here. But I will not be silenced. I hope you will tune in again tomorrow.
All the Light We Cannot See is streaming right now on Netflix. We need to take a quick break, but before we do, it's time to share this week's story in pictures. Here's your Studio 5 snapshot.
Cameras capture the impassioned story of musician Jon Batiste, the most celebrated artist of 2022, with 11 Grammy nominations. Then, just as he sets out to compose a symphony, his wife receives a cancer diagnosis. The artists share their journey in a documentary at a crossroads of meditation, art, love, creativity, and prayer. The intimate portrait streams to Netflix next week, and these images from the film are this week's Studio 5 snapshot. Just moments away. This NFL long snapper knows his position on the field, and he's fulfilling an even greater calling.
I got to be on this ride because I feel God's hand.
He shares his story with Studio 5.